What will I do when it comes to quant? Well, nothing I say is financial advice, but I'm going to be doing exactly what I've been doing for the past around 3 years, basically, which is literally me staying patient. And again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I am hypothetically dollar cost averaging once a month. That's it. So throughout those 3 years, approximately, it's like, again, once a month for those 3 years. So we're talking about around 36 times. But the thing is, entering into 2026, I'm going to hypothetically be doing the exact same thing. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, why? Well, again, I don't necessarily have to. Like, I'm doing this voluntarily. But then at the same time, Quant right now is around $70, right? However, when was the moment I saw Quant at around $70? It was back in 2021 in July. And keep in mind, we saw not too long after that, hypothetically, what Quant did. Now, is it going to be the exact same case this time around? Who knows? I mean, I cannot control Quant in any way, but in 2021, just from the chart that I do see, I saw at around basically September, Quant reached nearly $400. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's gonna hypothetically do that. I mean, who knows, right? But then, a couple months before that, I saw around $70 when it comes to Quant. However, that's besides this point, right? My perspective is that I'm just still staying patient, holding, and just waiting because I'm still a fan of the fundamentals when it comes to Quant. Quite necessarily. I mean, do I think it's the most revolutionary thing of all time? No, I don't think so. I think that it's pretty cool, but then at the same time, Quant still kind of has that presence in my perspective. I mean, it's still top 65 in terms of market cap within this space. So it hasn't like went down to like, 200th or like, 100th position or something like that. No, it doesn't seem to be the case to me. You know, when it comes to 2 grand, Quant is quite a ways away from that. Right now it's around 27 and a half times lower than that. So yeah, I mean, Quant's not doing the best, but also a bunch of other projects are not doing the best. And if we take a look at the altcoin space, it's not doing good whatsoever. I mean, the other day I had my friend come up to me and said, "Wow, have you seen what happened to altcoins?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I look at that pretty much every single day, So yeah, I was like, "Yeah, of course I know what's going on." And he told me that, "Wow, altcoins are done and all this type of stuff." Well, again, that's his perspective, right? I mean, personally for me, I have not seen an altcoin season during this cycle. Will we ever even see one during this cycle? Will we see one hypothetically in 2026? I mean, I cannot answer that. I don't have the questions. Wait, what am I saying? I don't have the answers to that question. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But besides that, again, I cannot control that, right? But what I can control is myself. Now, granted, people may be thinking, well, like personally, in my case, I did dollar cost average for around 3 years at this point when it comes to Quant, and it hasn't really done much in the grand scheme of things. Totally aware of that. Like, I have not seen Quant ever even reach like, what is this, around $200 ever since I started holding it. Like, I have not seen even back what it did near the end of 2021, which it clearly was having a pullback at that time, but around $200, I haven't seen that, I guess very long time because throughout the whole time I've been holding Quant, I've never seen that. But the thing is, I don't think I've seen an altcoin season either within the time span of me holding Quant. So, I'm still going to stay patient. I don't have to though, but I'm just doing it anyways because I kind of like the concept behind Quant. Now, it's not necessarily, again, the most interesting project out there of all time, but if I take a look at multi-chain applications, it's something I'm pretty fascinated about because if I just take a look at the idea, or should I say the concept of that, it's like an application that is built on top of multiple blockchains, not only just one, in which we've seen in a lot of cases, like historically speaking, that's kind of been the go-to, right? To just, have a certain blockchain and then build an application only on just one blockchain. That's just kind of the trend that I've seen historically, and that's the trend that I saw when I first entered into this space. But then somewhere along the way, I found Quant. Now, the thing is, when it comes to Quant, through the Quant network, which has an aspect of the Overledger OS and the Overledger network, but I'm just going to kind of skip the Overledger network part because it is made up of the Overledger OS users. So yeah, it's not really anything that interesting, I suppose. But still, if I take a look at the Overledger OS again, it allows something called a multi-chain application to hypothetically be built. So I find it pretty cool. Again, if let's say I don't have to just only be building on one blockchain and I can have multiple blockchains, I still find it pretty cool because imagine, right, a certain blockchain, it's not necessarily going to be perfect. Like, what happens if, let's say, there's some aspects that aren't that good? Maybe, you know, kind of have another blockchain supplement that. Again, that's kind of the hypothetical vibe that I do see from a multi-chain application. Again, an application that takes, sort of the aspects of a certain blockchain and also the other one as well, but then not having to be stuck on only just one blockchain. I find it pretty cool. It's not necessarily, again, the most interesting thing out there in the adoption when it comes to multi-chain applications overall. It's not like it's that hypothetically famous yet, I suppose, right? It's not like it's the best sort of adoption of all time. I have not seen that when it comes to this case in the sense of multi-chain applications. But then personally for me, I am still staying patient though. Again, I don't have to, but then I'm just doing it anyways. And when it comes to Quant overall, what I like about it is that I think that it's a project that doesn't really deviate too much because we see some other projects out there, they come up with a certain plan, people kind of talk about it and all this type of stuff, and then they change, they pivot, because I think sometimes they want to chase trends. But then when it comes to Quant, it doesn't seem like that is hypothetically the case. Now, also, some people like to say, well, there's a lot of developers popping up. Is that going to be a bad thing when it comes to Quant? Now, here's my response. Why would that be hypothetically a bad thing? I just don't get it, because if we take a look at, again, the Quant network, especially when I take a look at the aspect of the Overledger OS, allowing a multi-chain application to be built. If, let's say, a developer sort of appears within this space, why would that be a bad thing when it comes to Quant? In a sense, right, the way I view it, Quant is trying to kind of streamline, sort of, arguably, the way in which developers build applications. So then the thing is, why would it be a bad thing if there's more of what it's trying to help? That's my perspective. In some other projects out there, if there's more developers, it could equal more competition. But when it comes to Quant, it doesn't seem to hypothetically kind of be that way exactly, in a sense where if, let's say, there's more developers out there looking for more applications to build, why would that be such a bad thing when it comes to Quant? Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't think it would actually, hypothetically, at least in my perspective. So I do kind of like that when it comes to Quant, and it's sort of focused on, I would say, something that isn't necessarily chasing a trend, right? Because some other projects out there, they chase a certain trend and the whole project is literally revolved around that idea or that concept. But what happens if that trend, doesn't become trendy anymore? What happens if it goes out of style, right? What happens if it doesn't become as popular as it used to before? What's going to happen to the project? You know what I mean? So when I take a look at something like Quant, I like how it's focused on just basically, arguably, the way you take a look at it through the Overledger OS, sort of, helping developers streamline, right, the application making process, I suppose. So that right there, just in and of itself, doesn't give me a vibe where it's like, oh, it's trendy and all this. No, it doesn't feel like that to me. But that is just my perspective, and yeah, that's about it. I'm going to be doing exactly what I've been doing throughout this entire time, or should I say throughout this entire journey that I've had with Quant, which is just, again, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, I am dollar cost averaging once a month. That's pretty much about it, but I'm staying patient overall. And yeah, I want to say thank you for watching. I'm out. Peace. Bye.